can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York.
Live from Jurassic Park, it's the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook Live and YouTube. Yeah, Idris, we got these cranes in the neighborhood, bro.
Yeah.
I just need to ask you, is that a little too loud? Because I can move if need be.
Nah, we're good.
All right, 'cause I'm about to scream on this bird.
Nah, we're good.
My neighborhood reminds people that time has not really moved.
I like my block.
It's the sports week in review. A lot of things going on personally. That's why I have not been around, but going to tighten up and make sure that that's not becoming a thing of regularity. On today's show, we're going to be hitting on quite a few topics, not only in the sports world, but the world itself. We're going to talk about Ukraine. You know, in the sports world, we love to talk about underdogs, teamwork. So we're going to talk about something quite impressive that Ukraine pulled off in their forever war with Russia.
Yeah.
Musk versus Trump. What's real? What isn't? Is Vince McMahon going to get his hands on this? Is Vince McMahon even coming back?
Right.
We've heard conflicting reports on that. Triple H, Paul Levesque, recently fired R-Truth. Going to hit on that as well. We got a lot of MLB to cover. Stanley Cup playoffs looking very similar to the action we saw last year.
Yep.
And this could be a very odd situation that if the Edmonton Oilers were to fall short again, where Connor McDavid could potentially, for the second year in a row, win on the losing team. It is tied 2-2. It's been a phenomenal series thus far.
Oh, yeah.
Man has 5 assists through 2 games. Tyrese Halliburton playing the role of hero yet again, a ferocious comeback against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which on some metrics mirrored the comeback that went down in Madison Square Garden against our Knicks. Speaking of our Knicks, a lot of turnover potentially coming up as Jay Kidd is linked as the potential next coach. You have Karl Anthony Towns being questioned by the media and such about his commitment to the team in terms of his defensive lack of prowess. And there's a Greek gentleman who Stephen A. Smith is cooking up a potential trade with. And speaking of Stephen A., we're also going to speak about Michelle Beadle, Brittany Griner, Angel Reese, so much to cover. Idris, I think we're going to start this up on the hardwood. Tyrese Halliburton, huge yet again. Of course, this isn't possible without the Oklahoma City Thunder ineptitude in crunch time. What are your thoughts on the way that the Pacers walked it off in Game 1 in a shocker?
I think it's a two-edged double-edged sword. I mean, you got the best defensive team in the league in OKC, best record in the league, and you give up a lead like that after you basically was just lambasting the Pacers. And also Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, I don't like Indiana. I hate him. I hate him like I hate the Celtics and everybody else. But, I mean, the guy, he seems to come up. I'm not going to say clutch all the time because there was a few games in our series that he disappeared. But it seemed like he's there when he needs to be there, and especially on the road. So I mean, I give him his due. He came up big, and people think he's a big scorer. Where he's not a big scorer. He only averages like 19 points a game, so he's not a scorer per se. But he knows how to hit the big shot, and that's what counts. Hitting that big shot.
Yeah, something that I want to share with the viewers, in case if we have newer NBA fans, or maybe if people weren't that into the NBA, say a little over a decade ago. Coach Rick Carlisle was the architect for the Dallas Mavericks teams.
Right.
Dirk Nowitzki, not too long ago on a podcast, hanging out with D Wade and a couple of other NBA legends, talking about he and LeBron poking fun at him when he was recovering from the flu going into game 4. And D Wade admitted that it was stupid on his behalf, it was childish on his behalf, and that it could have potentially added fuel to the fire. If it ultimately did, Dirk ain't telling. But Rick Carlisle, similar to what he's done 2 consecutive years with Indiana, beating Knicks teams that both seasons were favored to beat them, even going back to last year. Most people feel that the Knicks were going to be the team to win, and the disconcerting thing for Knicks fans is that they had home court advantage in each series.
Right.
Last year I think it was more attributed to the lack of health down the stretch for the Knicks.
Yeah.
This year I think it's a plethora of a lot of things.
Yeah.
You can get on Karl Anthony Towns if you want. I willed a little bit, but I also think it comes down to coaching. Obviously, Tom Thibodeau's out of a job. It's a very controversial decision because we know the kind of petty bastard that James Dolan could be. It just has Charles Oakley. But Rick Carlisle is the kind of guy.
Don't it's all Leon Rose because he's been disappearing, not speaking. But yeah, Dolan.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And the thing is, Rick Carlisle's the kind of coach where what makes his value, in my opinion, rather insane, is that, okay, you had your one legit superstar with Dirk. You had an aging J Kidd, an aging Tyson Chandler. You had JJ Barea. You had a lot of good team members, guys that do whatever it takes for the betterment of the team.
Right on.
And I think in Indiana, similarly, he has something like that. They're younger in Indiana. Do I consider Pascal Siakam a superstar? Not necessarily. I consider him a star.
Yeah.
However, I do consider Tyrese Halliburton at this stage of his clutch value, but he fills up the stat sheets in a lot of ways and in some metrics.
You kind of
play.
You kind of break it up, Richie.
Weird, bro. On some metrics, he reminds me a little bit, not as athletic, but a little bit like Penny Hardaway, the way he could fill up a stat sheet. He also reminds me a little bit of Irvin Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
The way he sees the floor.
Yeah. I'm not going to call him a superstar just yet. I think he's fringe. I think he's fringe. I think he's fringe. I think he's about there. I want to see what happens in this series because he shows up, but he's not that. I don't think he's that guy called Pascal Siakam. I don't call him a superstar either, but I think he's one of those guys that he's like on the border. And you got Nesmith. You got a lot of guys on that team, like. That comeback in game 1 against the Knicks, he hit that shot. I'm going to give it to him. But Nesmith is the one that brought that team back, dropping 6 3-pointers in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he blacked out.
Yeah, so I'm not hating on Halliburton. I'm really not. I just think he's at the door. I want to see what he does this time. The Knicks lost. He put in work that last game. He put in work that first game, and like the 4th game, I think it was, he disappeared. 5th game disappeared. I want to see what he does this time. The light's too big. So far, they made a good comeback the other day, Thursday, and he hit the shot. But I want to see what happens the rest of the series.
And as good as OKC is in terms of their best player down to their last player,
Yeah.
the kind of year they had, the carryover from last year for the second consecutive year being the one seed in a very competitive Western Conference.
Hey, you breaking up, Richie? You breaking up?
Honest with you, the Denver series against OKC at times almost put me to sleep because Denver had such a contrasting style from OKC, what they were trying to do. I feel that OKC beat Denver at their own game. Now, having said that, I think that if a couple of small bounces and a couple of free throws go differently, they could have won that game. I will be right back here.
Well, I'll take it. Yeah, from here. I agree. OKC, they're young, and I believe they have more work to do. I think they can still win this series because we see what they did with Minnesota. Minnesota took one, and they still basically buried Minnesota in the dirt. I think they're defensively strong. SGA, I mean, God, the guy has a smooth stroke with his jumper. I mean, he's the MVP, and he earned the MVP. I think Holmgren has to step it up a little bit. This guy's like 10 feet tall, but he plays like he's 6 feet. He has to get in there. I know he's skinny and doesn't have that toughness in him yet, but he still has to build that toughness. They got a coach that'll get it done. The rest of the team has to pick up. You can't blow 10, 15, 20-point leads on your home court. You're the number one seed. You can't do that. It happens, but you can't do that. Especially against a team like Indiana, who's already proven that, hey, we'll take you out. If you give us a chance, we'll take you out. So we already seen Cleveland get knocked off. We've seen Boston get knocked off 5 games and won 6 games in the other. So we already know what Indiana can do in terms of fight, because they did it to us. So OKC needs to batten down the hatches. But hey, all hands on deck. We need everything. This Indiana team aren't the 8th seed. They're better than the 4th seed.
No, it's valid, Idris. It is valid. I believe that. First of all, am I breaking up again?
Slightly, but I can hear you better than I did.
The thing is, on my end, you're breaking up, so I'm trying to figure out what that's translating to on our show. So I'm not sure.
The thing is, we had issues with StreamYard the other day for Casual Convo, so it might still be that. I don't know. So I can hear you. You was breaking up for a minute, but you're clear now.
All right. On my end, not so much, but maybe that's just I'm here, not necessarily the show. We're gonna
you're
go
popping a little bit, but we can make out what you're saying.
All right. Yeah, I think that covers really what I needed to say on the NBA, at least for the finals. Yeah. Tom Thibodeau, the most successful coach for the New York Knicks since Jeff Van Gundy was controversially fired after what, in some people's estimations, was an overachievement by the Knicks, defeating last year's world champion Boston Celtics after knocking out Detroit in the first round. And after taking Indy to 6, most people feel the series probably should have won 7 because of what you already mentioned in Game 1. This is the second time around that Coach Thibodeau has coached a team with Karl Anthony Towns on that resulted in Coach Thibodeau's dismissal. How much of this firing do you think lies on the shoulders of Karl Anthony Towns and what some of his teammates have leaked out to the media being a disconnect from a team philosophy about buying into playing a full 24 seconds, so to speak, of defense? Because it does seem that different junctures of the season, particularly in this series that's under the microscope, that Karl Anthony Towns took a lot of plays off.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I can kind of see why they fired Tibbs, but I wasn't cool with it. I tell you why, and I'm gonna get on the cat thing also, because this guy, I mean, we've had 3 coaches that got us this far. Red Holtzman won us 2 championships. Van Gundy got us to a championship. Tibbs got us to 2 Eastern Conference Finals.
And then you throw in Pat Riley's name in the hat for 94.
94, yeah. I forgot Riley. Yeah, Riley, my 94, yeah. So, and I put Riley and Van Gundy kind of together because, you know, Van Gundy succeeded Riley and they had that team. But, yeah, I got what you're saying, yeah. So, I could see why they fired him because he was stuck in the same thing where I'm going to burn my 7 guys out, especially myself. Because they said in the playoffs, the Knicks 5 averaged more minutes than any team in the playoffs, and it wasn't even close. The same with the regular season. Our 5 averaged more minutes than any 5 in the NBA.
Yes,
we averaged, I think we averaged 37 minutes, the 5, with Brunson and what's his name averaging 40. It's a lot of minutes. So I could see why they did that because they said, hey, you got to get out of that. But on the flip, I'm like, I think they could have sat him down and said, look, coach, you need to go to your bench. You're going to burn these guys out. We need to go deep. I think they should have sat him down. I didn't want Tibbs. I think Tibbs brought that New York mentality to the Knicks.
A fearfulness of mind. And I'm sure you remember this as a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
You remember that weird period in between Van Gundy and Riley where they had Don Nelson for a short while?
Yeah.
And it seemed like the Knicks were trying to be more offensive-centric, but they lost a lot of their bully ball in the trenches, so to speak.
Yeah, just like with D'Antoni. Yeah, same thing.
Big time with D'Antoni. A fear of mine, and I like Jason Kidd as a head coach. But the thing is, what is the value of bringing in Kidd? I'll tell you what the value is. I think he wants to make Jalen Brunson the total package because if there's a weakness or two in Jalen Brunson's game, number one, while he's a willing defender, he needs to be a better defender.
Yeah.
And number two, I think Jay Kidd is going to try to enhance his game in the sense of being a better facilitator and a more natural point guard because there's ways to mask that during the regular season. But when you're going against other teams, and if you look at the history of this league, the teams who have made it to the top more times than not have had a point guard that was able to get everything and everyone involved. And as much as I love Jalen Brunson, he at sometimes loses trust in his teammates and becomes too much of a one-man show.
Yeah, he has a little James Harden in him because that's why he has his turnovers. Because if you look at his turnovers are not like where he got defended real good and they took it from him. His turnovers are where he just made it like he's dribbling so much and lost control of the ball or something like that. Like his turnovers are. His turnovers remind me.
You got 7 seconds to get into your offense. I mean, of course, I'm going to credit Indiana's defense. You have to.
Yeah.
But I do think that a lot of what happened in that series, at different junctures of crunch time and turning points in the series, was indeed that Jalen Brunson kind of over dribbled, and I do believe that it led to a lot of turnovers and a lot of things that ultimately cost the Knicks big because as a viewer and as a fan invested in this stuff, there's nothing more frustrating than when you're going on a run, say like a nice little 9-0 run, and then you hand back 4 to 6 points off of self-inflicted turnovers. It is maddening for anyone who values the fundamentals of the game and the mental aspect of the game.
Exactly. As for Cat, I've always been a fan of Cat going back to Kentucky. However, I could see him being built like someone like Chet Holmgren, 7-footer, maybe weighs 100 pounds. I could see that. Okay. But you are 7 foot and you what, almost 300 pounds, if not 300 pounds. We saw how he is when he takes it to the rack. You can't stop him. And I'm like, that's your game. Okay, if you're open for the 3, shoot the 3. But when you know you have a defensive mismatch, you take that and see that hurt. And like the thing is saying that's two coaches that got fired under Cat, and it's the same coach with Cat there, the same coach. So, I mean, I really like Cat, I really do. But if we can make a deal, like I've heard Knicks fans say we should make a deal where we package McBride, what's his name? Oh my goodness, the other Villanova guy,
Josh Hart.
Hart and Bridges. I heard a lot of Knicks saying package those three for your boy out in Phoenix, not KD. I don't know why my mind's blank.
You're talking about Booker.
Booker, yeah. And I'm like, no. We need a big man. Okay, Booker would be nice, good mid-range, good jumper. But my thing with that is Booker has had some great teammates around him in Phoenix. They ain't done nothing. He disappears too.
This is my opinion on what's realistic.
Yeah.
You're going to need a willingness from Giannis to want to come to New York because there's better packages out there. Because when the Knicks burned the amount of first-round draft picks on Mikal Bridges,
yeah,
it kind of hurts the Knicks' ability to move draft picks along with current talent, unless if you're willing to go real deep into the next decade of draft picks that can really stymie your team and make like after a 5-year run, it could be a 10-year dark period if the Knicks were going to do that. And if it produced a championship or two, you live with it. But the thing is, I would definitely, you have to package Cat in any deal that's going to require, that's going to be able to get you Giannis. And the reality is,
that's what I say.
A plan B, which actually might be the right plan, but once again, it shortens your window even more, is if you were to make the deal for a Kevin Durant. Because when you bring in a Kevin Durant with a facilitator like a Jalen Brunson,
right,
that you would hope that J Kidd is going to try to make him into.
Yeah.
Now you have a scenario where the offense is not going to run through JB anymore. It's going to run through KD.
And you know what?
Giannis is the grand prize. I just don't think the Knicks have the pieces to make a deal like that go down. But if they do, Cat has to be at the front of that trade.
Yeah, you know, and the thing about it, I remember last year or 2 years ago, Giannis had mentioned that he would like to play in New York one day.
He's a bona fide generational superstar. You do whatever you could as long as it doesn't include your point guard.
Yeah, because I would package Cat, maybe Bridges, and maybe someone like Precious Achiuwa. I kind of like Precious though.
If I had a choice between packaging up Hart and Bridges, even though I love Josh Hart, I think that part of getting to the next level is you got to break up that Nova mix. And it's not because I have something against it. It's because winning and chasing greatness is not about your comfort levels.
Nope.
It's about making the necessary steps to be better all the way around.
I agree.
And, you know, at the end of the day, like it or not, 50% of the Knicks' best players happen to be from that famous Villanova squad. And if you're trying to bring in a next-level superstar, it's going to require you to probably part with some of that. They already did it with DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
And it might require another one. It's a tough one. But if somebody's going to ask me who's more valuable to the future success of the Knicks if you bring in a second superstar alongside Jalen Brunson, I would say Mikal Bridges, because of his defensive prowess, probably would have to stay, where as much as I love Josh Hart, he would probably have to go.
Yeah, I would move Hart. I guess I would move Hart. Yeah, I do like Hart. What irritates me about Hart is he gets careless.
Yeah, his reluctancy to shoot the basketball when he's wide open.
Right under the hoop. He'll kick it out.
And he struggles finishing around the rack.
Yeah.
He's great at drawing fouls, but and there are mental lapses with Josh Hart that remind me of other players that have worn number 3. Number 3 is a very decorated number in Knicks history, but I'm going to be honest. I love me some Steph Marbury, And I definitely love me some John Starks. And
Yeah.
I love Josh Hart. But the reality is there's something about number 3 that is attached to mental lapses.
Right. Hey, we didn't have Allen Iverson, but even he had some lapses. So,
Hart
but
needs
yeah,
to stop passing the ball and take the damn shot. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you. If they're offering, if they say, "Hey, give us Hart, give us Cat, and give us like someone off the bench," I'm making the deal because with Giannis, we know with Giannis, we got an inside presence, we got a mid range shooter, we got a guy who can shoot from 3, and we also got a guy who's going to get your rebounds, who's going to get your block shots, and if need be, he's going to take it coast to coast. And if you got a point guard like Jalen Brunson, this is why Jason Kidd would be real good because Jason Kidd, like you said, he's a point guard's coach,
And
and
he's a point guard, and he's also a point guard's point guard.
right. Yeah,
He
that's what I mean. He's a
learned
point. Yeah,
he learned under the watchful eye of one of the greatest to ever do it on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah,
And he wasn't no slouch with the scoring. Of course, I'm talking about Gary Payton Sr.
right.
And the thing is, I think if you bring in a J Kidd, he's not that far removed from the league where the players of today could still relate to him. And he also understands what it's like to be in the tri-state area.
Yeah,
Because this is a guy that took the New Jersey Nets, now the Brooklyn Nets, to 2
yep,
NBA Finals appearances.
yep,
And were it not for Carmelo Anthony busting up his shoulder,
yeah,
I believe that he, J Kidd, Tyson Chandler, and co. could have very well appeared in the NBA Finals that year, or at least we would have seen what would have happened against the Heatles. The
yeah.
thing is, with Coach Thibodeau, last thought on him,
Uh-huh.
I agree with all the stuff that we say. But last year, I think he was more guilty of beating them up than this year. And the reason I say that is because when you move on from a Julius Randle and a Dante DiVincenzo, at the end of the day, you're trading 2 players for 1 player.
Yeah,
And no matter how you slice it, the 2 players that you traded were better conditioned than the guy that you got in return.
and they play defense.
Yeah, because when Karl Anthony Towns was at the free throw line or, sweating it out, it looked like he was like
Ben
about to
Simmons.
take a nap. Like he was spending like too much time at the local Electroneta, like
Yeah,
that's how,
yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody that they bring in is going to be a great defender, but it's too much of the Carmelo Anthony me first vibes when it comes to him.
I'm with you, man. That's why I say if we could make a deal with Giannis, okay. Like as for coaching, I'll wrap my part up. Coaching, I'd like to have J Kidd. I like to have Malone from Denver.
I think Malone would be a good choice, but I think Kidd would be the right choice first.
Yeah,
Here's the thing.
yeah.
Coach Tom Thibodeau, I want to make this clear. I'm very thankful for everything he's done for this
Oh yeah.
organization.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
he's a real New Yorker and a guy that should be cherished in Nick Lore. I don't
Yeah.
think him getting fired is a complete indictment of who he is as a coach. I think the
No.
team is identifying that while we appreciate all the contributions that he has made for this organization and the turnaround, he was not the guy that was going to get us over the hump. Similar to how Buck Showalter wasn't the guy that was going to get the New York Yankees over the hump.
I was going to say that he reminds me of Buck Showalter. He can build your program. He just can't get you over the hump.
But when you talk about a life committed to basketball, Coach Thibodeau is such an honest and humble dude. He
Yeah.
talked about it like if he was writing a memoir a while back. He said, there was a woman once, but I realized that I needed no distractions if I wanted to be the absolute best.
Yeah.
He said he called off the wedding 6 weeks before the date. He said his mother was furious with him.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that has committed his entire life to professional basketball.
Yeah.
And similar to a Jimmy Johnson who had failed marriages, there are certain guys that play sports. Look at Tom Brady. That nothing could successfully mix with what they do if they want to be at that grand level. You look at a guy like a Derek Jeter. Derek
Yeah.
Jeter needed to be completely retired when he hung up the jersey, so to speak, with the ladies and finally decided to make himself a family.
Yeah.
I think Jeter did it rather wisely when you consider getting his bite out of the apple, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do I think Coach Thibodeau is done? I think he probably sits out this year and he'll get one final coaching gig. But the reality is, we've seen it too many times. in Chicago, I feel that he ruined the potential of Derrick Rose going
Yeah.
down as one of the all-time greats because the way Derrick Rose's career started, the only Chicago Bull that may have been ranked higher than him if he wouldn't have been beaten down would probably
Hmm.
only be Michael Jordan. I think he would have jumped guys like Jerry Sloan, Artis Gilmore, and Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
You know, as the Knicks go going into next year, if they do make a blockbuster, the reality is
Hmm.
that whoever the coach is, whether it's Malone or Kidd, they're gonna have to trust their bench and they're gonna have to go deep into it to see if they can make it work. Because the problem with making a deal like that is you're
Yeah.
gonna weaken your overall roster, but it's not that you're weakening it, it's that it's gonna be a weird imbalance. Similar to like when Brooklyn put those big three together, but they had a bunch of questionable pieces, or even the Heat for that matter.
Yeah.
If you look at the Heat in the beginning of their 4 year window to win championships,
Hmm.
the bench gradually got better over the years. But usually, year one, when you make a trade like that, your bench is going to be unproven. So guys like Tyler Kolek, guys like Wright, assuming they bring him back because that guy's been a well traveled vet,
Yeah.
Shamet. These are the kind of guys that are going to have to be in more games during the course of the regular season to make it work because new coach, same bullshit if you put too much. Because Giannis, as great as he is, has
Yeah.
been breaking down the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And we know about the many foot issues of Jalen Brunson. The beauty of bringing in a guy like Giannis is I think a guy like OG Anunoby could be inserted to potentially even be a sixth man, depending on what's left if they do make a deal. I'll be honest with you, Idris. I love Stephen A's idea, but the reality is I don't see Giannis coming to New York. I
Yeah.
think if we're going to get anybody, it's going to be Kevin Durant.
Yeah. And the thing about, yeah, I agree. I mean, I would love to have Giannis, but yeah, I don't see it happening. I had heard this past week that the Knicks had made a play for Kevin Durant during midseason. But they, of course, it didn't go through.
The one
Uh,
positive, if you score Durant at this juncture of his career, is that it's gonna take less to get him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree.
All right, moving it along, we're gonna get on some world news before we come back to the sports news. What are your thoughts on the Ukraine's sneaky attack and a necessary one to defend their land against the Russians? I usually try to veer away from anything sports, non-sports related on here, unless if it's hip hop or something or
Yeah,
movies.
yeah,
But I'm I'm speaking not from a political standpoint. I'm speaking from a survival mode standpoint.
right.
Regardless of who's in office and how things align, I think everyone has their right in this world to defend themselves.
Yeah,
And what the Ukraine did, as far as I'm concerned, was necessary.
hmm,
Because when you look at the casualties that have gone down there, it is comparable to Nam, it's comparable to Hiroshima, and there have been other wars, even the Afghans and the Russians in the 80s,
yeah,
wars that just never end. And the horrible things that have been going on in Gaza since the beginning of time.
yeah,
I'm just going to say this plain and simple. I'm not going to put my political hat into this shit. I just want to say that I truly hope, for the sake of humanity, that this war ends soon.
yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Because with me, I don't like getting involved in the Russia Ukraine thing because I think that's their beef. Although I do feel Ukraine, hey, you got to defend your land. You
Absolutely.
know, you got to defend your land. So I I just, yeah, I want it to end. I want us to get out of it. That's just my feeling. I mean, I'm just tired of us getting involved in other people's wars and stuff like that. I know who
Yeah, yeah.
we are.
Part of it was the sneak tip, because there's a trust variable between Ukraine and our country, and I don't have to get into it. Google that shit. Go to YouTube. My
Yeah,
bottom line with this is that when you're facing a nation that has endless resources, it's not that you're going to get them in terms of taking out men and women and whoever serves their country on the militaristic standpoint.
Yeah.
Where they got them was they cost them a ton of money and a ton of resources in terms of the weaponry that Russia has at their disposal.
Right.
And that's what makes a lot of this interesting because, like, my stepdad, Eddie's a huge history buff, and we're seeing history, and our kids are going to probably hear about this war down the road, da-da-da, dee-da-doo. But the point I'm making is
Mm-hmm.
I just hope for the sake of humanity that this comes to a close. And, you can't talk about this stuff without talking about the man in office. A lot of people are doing backflips and semi-confused about Elon Musk with the comment about Donald on Epstein Island.
Yeah.
Trump has had a propensity over the years for having fallouts with people that are very close to him. But a lot of people think that this also might just be for the sake of theater and playing with those that oppose both of them. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know, man. Sometimes I think it's theater because you know who Trump is. You know who Elon
through
is.
and through.
Yeah. So on one
Like
side,
him,
I
love
think it's
him, hate him, whatever it is, wherever you feel, you're going to tune in.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And I kind of think it's theater, but then again, I kind of think it's something real. I think it's kind of petty how they, the back and forth stuff with Trump saying about he should be deported and Elon saying he's on Epstein Island and all this stuff. I think these are two kids in adult clothes acting like kids. You are the president of the United States, and Elon is the other guy. I call him the other guy because I don't even know. His position is not his position. He does so much different. I don't know. But you are two grown ass men running the country, a whole freaking nation. And you're out here acting like kids, going back and forth. Oh, he's on Epstein Island. Oh, we need to see if he's legal so we can deport him. Oh, we need to impeach him. Da-da-da-da-da. That's kiddie shit. We didn't hear this out of Bush.
Other presidents have exploited the office, Democrat and Republican alike, in terms of making it the billionaire boys club.
Yeah.
G-Dub did it. The junior one did it. JFK on some metrics did it, with all the starlets.
Yeah.
Nixon did it. They all did it on some metric or level.
Yeah.
Because certain guys are bigger than the seat because their star is big. Ronald Reagan was a movie star and a football guy,
Right.
It's a very decorated seat,
Yeah.
Obama was cool. There's a lot of different Bill Clinton, come on now.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the weird thing that goes on with the way that news is distributed in this country is that you have different news that has different agendas that prevents people from hearing the truest form of news, whether it's on the right or whether it's on the left. And it's a frustration for all Americans, no matter which way you vote at the poll. You have political shows. You have millions of dollars, poured into this shit. I believe that a lot of it is line blurring, and it just becomes another market and another way to get people interested. It's another form of distraction, and it's another form of entertainment, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy.
It's a weird time, and Doug Rush, a guy who does a very good job of covering the New York Football Giants, breaking news. I always keep tabs on his page because it's always very informative. He's also a huge wrestling fan, and he pitched the idea of Elon Musk, Donald Trump in the ring, WWE cashing in on it. This would not be the Donald's first time around because it's interesting. He's more geared as a professional wrestler than he is a politician anyway.
Yeah. And
the reality is the fans would eat it up. So it's interesting to see if they would even go that route or what WWE's thoughts are. R-Truth, a fan favorite forever, wrestled John Cena Saturday night's main event. He was swiftly released after that. A lot of his comrades in the wrestling industry who performed the next time they were on TV, very upset with Triple H, and they wanted to wear R-Truth merch. And they were threatened that if they did, there were going to be some big ramifications. I'm not quite sure what WWE is looking to do, as right now John Cena is in the middle of his swan song playing the role of heel. But I do believe that there are some changes coming because Vince McMahon, something tells me, one way or another, is going to end up back in the fold. And I don't know if that would be good or bad, but I think it would set the company back big time because I think Vinny Mac is a little too old to be overseeing this shit. Not to mention the bad publicity it gets, because just because you might be able to pay off things and you might be innocent in the court of law, which he has been many times in the past, doesn't mean that the court of public opinion is on your side. And, you know, I don't think AEW is ever going to catch WWE, but it could hurt them. WWE has always found a way to be above the curve
Yeah.
when it comes to making money, regardless of what kind of product they have. But it will be worth tuning into. It will be worth checking out. Anything on your mind in boxing, Idris? What do you think about Canelo right now? What do you think about his upcoming opponent? Do you think this is another delay of what we should be seeing?
Yeah, no delay. Because he should be fighting Benavidez.
Yeah, we've been talking about this forever.
Yeah, he should be fighting Benavidez. He wants to fight Benavidez was a super middleweight. Benavidez is like, I want to fight, I want to fight, I want to fight, I want to fight, I want to fight. But he kept saying, nah, you haven't earned yourself a shot. But he's fighting these guys who haven't earned shots.
Right.
I'm like, I don't have no. I mean, I respect him. I don't have no respect for him. He's done what he done in the boxing game. He's won the titles. But he's full of it.
Pisses me off. I don't have a lot of good things to say about Floyd Mayweather outside of the fact that he's a phenomenal fighter.
Me neither.
But one thing that Floyd Mayweather did that was good for the fight fans is that he put on Canelo Alvarez, in a young Canelo Alvarez, on the grand stage, which helped propel his career. And for Canelo to handpick guys and not pass it back, I think is really going to tarnish his legacy in the big scheme of things, especially when you consider that the Mexican fighters take that part of pride so serious. You look at guys like Julio Cesar Chavez that took risky fights at the end of their career to give it back to the fight fans. Mexican-American fighters like an Oscar De La Hoya who fought them all and wasn't worried about protecting some kind of perfect record. He fought Tito. He fought Mayweather. He fought Mosley. He fought Hopkins. He fought them all.
Yeah.
Oscar gave back a lot more to boxing than what he took from boxing. You know what I'm saying? Even in the heavyweight realm, a guy like Iron Mike Tyson, when his skills were diminishing, never backed out of a challenge where his win-loss ratios were taking hits when he lost to other legends like Lennox Lewis, as well as Evander Holyfield. Lennox Lewis was never afraid to take on a challenge. He wanted Riddick Bowe bad. I don't think Riddick Bowe wanted him as much. So over the course of time, we've seen this happen in the sweet science, but I really hope that before Canelo calls it a career, we get that fight, because it would be a big cheap shot to the fight fans, not to mention with all the success that UFC is having. That's another variable to consider. Angel Reese, Brittany Griner, the danger of the WNBA just losing the little bit of attention that they're starting to gain. Idris Salam, Angel Reese's layup percentage is like ungodly, historically bad, but yet they only want to talk about the rebounds. Brittany Griner, I think there's nothing to see there. I think people are just looking for any little thing to stir up some shit with Brittany Griner because of the very controversial shit with her coming back from Russia and that whole fiasco. I'll be honest with you. I'm not the biggest fan of Brittany Griner for the simple sheer fact that I don't think she's very grateful for the sacrifices that people made to bring her back.
Right.
But it don't have shit to do with on the hardwood. On the hardwood, she's a beast. But as far as Angel Reese goes, I think this young lady is going to play herself right out of the league.
I'm with you, man. And like I said, I always tell people, I was the biggest Angel Reese fan going back to when she was at Maryland. biggest Angel Reese fan, and being an LSU fan, which I'm no longer an LSU basketball fan. Let me say that right now. But since she got into the league, she is not the same person. And her 31%, man, shooting under the basket, 31%. That's horrible. People keep talking about the rebounds, but what are rebounds if they're not helping with you with wins and stuff like that? They're not
I hear you, buddy. Idris, I hear you, but that's static as thick.
I'm gonna log out and pop back in.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah, you good. I gotta figure out how to log out. Hold on a second. Dang it. I'll be right back.
While Idris holds that thought, I'll flip it to the NHL real quick. Connor McDavid, what he's doing right now is phenomenal. We've seen it in other sports where losers and teams still were named MVP of a series. We saw it with Bobby Richardson in the 60s against the Pittsburgh Pirates, the famous Bill Mazeroski walk-off home run. The NHL has been must-see TV in terms of the intensity of the playoffs. And it's something that I said even at the All-Star break, it's something that the NBA should really model after. I'm going to talk about the TNT crew in a bit after we hit on this topic. Idris, your thought, you are back.
On the NHL or Angel Reese?
That was a filler while you were walking away.
Oh, okay. She'll be out the league in a couple of years. Her game has not improved. In fact, it's went down. And rebounds are rebounds if they mean something. They're not equating to wins. They're not. And when I look at her rebounds, and I know you got the people say, oh, you're just hating. No, if you're a basketball fan, you watch basketball, you've played basketball, if you've done that, and you look at her play, you got to say, this is pitiful. This is pitiful. If you look at her layups, and this is not hating on her, this is speaking as a person who watched basketball. If you look at her layups, it's like she's just throwing it up there to get a rebound. There's no fluidity in her layups. And I get tired of people saying, oh, Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark is working on, she's constantly working on her game. When you look at her layup, she makes a layup. She works on her jumper. If you look at Caitlin Clark's game, you can tell she's put in work. This is not stroking her bra strap or whatever. The girl's putting in work. Angel Reese is not. And I will say it right now, and I've been saying it. When her contract is up in Chicago, either she won't be signed or she's going to be overseas. I don't see who's going to pick her up. There's nothing there. It's not hating on her.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think she's put the work in to get that next contract. And similar to when the infancy of the league, when they were trying to bank on certain girls coming out of college, some of them were flagship performers, so to speak, for the league, where others ended up being relegated to role players and not hitting their total stride in terms of being that in the league. Aaron Judge, torrid pace. I believe that Aaron Judge could potentially be the first player to hit over 400 since the late, great Ted Williams. New York Yankees currently have the second best record in Major League Baseball, narrowly percentage points ahead of the New York Mets and slightly behind the Detroit Tigers. There's still some holes in the Yankees that concern me. With Weaver being down right now, Devin Williams has to step up, and this is his opportunity to show that he was worth the trade. I still think it was a low-risk move when you consider that Nestor Cortez was kind of on the outs with the Yankees. I think when Weaver comes back, it's business as usual. He will be the starting closer, the main closer, I should say. He's been terrific. Juan Soto starting to get comfortable now. You know, it helps when you're playing, you know, you're in this series against the Rockies, but in general, it looks like Juan Soto gradually is getting more comfortable in that Mets lineup and blocking out some of the outside noise, just some observations that I'm seeing. And the Los Angeles Dodgers, despite the many injuries, I think are showing why they are the defending world champions. But I got to say, man, I am so very impressed with AJ Hinch's Detroit Tigers. That pitching staff is ferocious. And I think Tarek Skubal is going to be bringing home the American League Cy Young Award. And if he doesn't, if Max Fried outdoes him in the second half of the year, he would be the most logical guy to win it. But baseball is really cooking up some good stuff right now, and it's going to be a hell of a summer to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I'm surprised with Detroit. I mean, I give them their props, man. They're balling out, man. I mean, the Tigers are balling their asses out. The Dodgers, yeah, they're showing why they're the champions, you know, or defending champions, should I say. So as for the Yankees, I'm proud of them because, you know, I really thought we were going to take a step back because of our pitching. Our ace is gone. But what I'm seeing is they're playing ball, man. I mean, it's not all about. I mean, we are hitting a lot of home runs. Let's keep it 100. But we're putting the ball in play, and we're rounding the bases. We're finishing. We're not getting beat like we were last year, having 3-run leads, 4-run leads, and then just blowing it at the end. You know, we're actually closing games. You know, we got a ways to go, but I like what I see out of us. We just got to keep it up. I like what I see. Detroit, I mean, I'll just go back to Detroit. I mean, the boys are balling, man. The boys are balling out, man. Detroit, as a city, has to be happy considering the Pistons look good this year. We see what the Lions are doing. And now you have the Tigers at the top of their game. So, you know, hey, my hat's off to them, man.
Definitely back to the winning culture, so to speak. Getting back there. I said it before, I'll say it again. I even said it coming into the season. My original prediction for the American League Championship Series was the Houston Astros and the Detroit Tigers, mainly because I felt that the Yankees were not going to be able to overcome the loss of Garrett Cole. And not because of the new addition, Max Fried. The real surprise this year, and one that is very welcome by all Yankee fans, has been that Carlos Rodon has been pitching for the most part at an elite level.
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
You eventually get back Luis Gil, who is last year's reigning American League Rookie of the Year. If he even pitches at 80% of what he was last year, the Yankees are going to be in a terrific position to hoist another pennant and get another crack at the Dodgers or whoever the National League should provide.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I can say is yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
Thinking if there's anything else on the brain that I want to hit on before I get out of here, I think I'm just going to end it on this. Coach Tom Thibodeau, I think it's unfortunate because we all know that coaching in sports or even playing in sports at that level, it can be a very fickle business. This New York Knicks fan is very appreciative for what you've done for this organization and bringing us back to relevance.
Yeah.
And whether we win with someone else or whether we lose with someone else, I think it's important that this man has his rightful place among the best Knicks coaches of all time, because bringing back a winning culture to a team that was so down for so long is no small task. And I will defend him on one thing. We talked about the lack of bench depth. We get it. But when you trade the big Ragu and you trade Julius Randle, that doesn't leave you a lot of depth piece going into that very next year. And I also understand the era that he comes from. He comes from the Jordan era. How many games did Michael Jordan miss in his career if you take away his second year in the league where he had that season-ending injury, and you take away 1995 where he decided to join Chicago, 17 games left in the year? The point to be made is that there were many people with that same mindset as Mike in that era. There weren't rest minutes. There wasn't all this high-octane training stuff. There were a bunch of dogs out there. and I don't think it's a coincidence that you had less injuries back then either. So it will forever be a topic that always gets debated on. But Coach Thibodeau, sincerely, from a diehard New York Knicks fan, thank you, and I hope your team is able to finish what you started.
I'm with you, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna put him on. I'm on the top 5 Knicks coaches. Of course, Red Holzman number 1. Number 2, I guess I would go. Golly, either Van Gundy or Riley. I don't know. One of the two. That'd be 3 down. You got Woodson and you got Tibbs. Yeah, it's just he's got to be top 5. I might put him over Woodson, and I might put him up there. I would put him 3. It depends on who you have as number 3, either Riley or Van Gundy, because one of them will be number 2 and one of them will be number 3.
Swag Epic Video. Our UFC guy is Mike Zappi. I am in tune with what goes on in UFC, but we'd be more than happy to start implementing more of that into our show. But to answer your question, it's not thoroughly discussed on the panel here. Our guy Zappi usually would be the UFC guy. I'm going to approach Zappi about possibly doing a weekly rundown on UFC because I think it's a pretty good idea because we do break up into different teams sometimes, like during football season, for instance, where Idris might get exclusive with college football. He's particularly our quarterback guru on the show. But yeah, thanks for hanging. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, with my commitment to what I usually have to do on Saturdays, UFC is not always the same kind of coverage around here.
Yeah.
Idris, good show today. I like that the New York Giants keep bringing in all these legends. I really like it. I think there's a different demeanor in that facility. But like anything else, it's got to translate to wins, and it's going to be very interesting. Former New York Giant Saquon Barkley recently stated that he is considering retiring early, maybe as soon as the end of this year, similar to his football icon, hero, role model, the impeccable Barry Sanders. And that'll be good because that means that he has plenty of time now and he'll be able to come around. Aaron, get at us.
Yes.
For Idris Salam, I am Richie. If you haven't already, please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. Good to be back.
Yes.
But now I must report to my less fun job. And I need to take a shower. My God, Idris, Florida is too damn hot.
Well, come to North Carolina where it's too damn cold. Well, we're kind of warm right now. We're in our 80s right now, so
I'll take that gladly, bro. It's like I come outside to take out the garbage, and I already feel like I'm drawing a sweat.
Yeah, if they saw your face, man, they'd be like, "Yeah, get the shot." Yeah, don't do it, man.
You already know.
All right, man.
Announcements to come for our next show. Have a good, productive, and most importantly, a safe weekend. Enjoy the NBA Finals. Enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals. And enjoy what we got going on in baseball right now. And Yankees, continue to stick it to those Red Sox. I can't believe it took this long for the Yankees and Red Sox to actually have a game. That is like this late in the season for them to finally play.
Before we go, I see Swag Epic Video mention something about, like, what about UFC Weekly?
Yeah, that's what I was addressing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you. My bad.
It's all good.
We'll try, man. We got a lot of sports we try to cover, man. But we'll try. We'll try for real.
Yeah, I think Zappy might have to be implemented into that one.
Yeah, I'm the boxer guy. Right. Well, let's ride.
Peace out, y'all.
Yo.